It's lights out and away we go.
Hello everyone, welcome to our podcast.
We are your hosts, Harshit Das.
And Ashish Panda.
It's a podcast on F1 motorsport.
We are gonna cover everything related to F1 world.
So sit back and enjoy listening to us.
In this episode, we are gonna take you through the everything that took place in the unofficial testing in Barcelona, or what FIA terms as shakedown of 2022 cars.
We might be a bit late on this one, but it's fine. I know you guys were pretty interested and I think you have waited enough. So we are here to give you our views and everything that we took away and official reports that we read from the preseason testing at Barcelona.
So our first segment is gonna be our views on the team's performances based on the stats. And why don't you start, Harshit?
Yeah, so let me make one thing clear, guys. These are like all the reports that we got from all those huge people or huge, I would say, creators and all who were there on the track giving us reports and from the official F1 site. So yeah, we are just here trying to give it to you and give our thoughts.
Yes.
And so yeah, the secrecy was very well maintained. Like at this point it's kind of a sarcasm because we thought that we wouldn't be getting anything, but F1 themselves, they started showing us footages, some laps, some effects and 4K images. So I think they could have just broadcasted it at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Like fans were desperate to watch the cars on the track as it had been a long time, but whatever the FIA wants to do, they do it.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait a bit more till we see the actual testing in March. Okay, this is March, so yeah, the Bahrain testing to be precise. Yeah, now moving on to the cars, the arrangement, I think it was what I expected, kind of. Mercedes, Ferrari, and Ferrari, I think Ferrari is a bit more stronger.
Yeah.
Like initially the day one, they put in the most, day one and overall also, they had the best mileage. They didn't have any failures as such, and they put in the most number of laps. I think 439 laps to be precise.
Yeah.
So Ferrari looked really promising, and in a couple of reports that I have read, people are like, the experts are like, yeah, what, Ferrari is in a great position. So I think it was kind of expected. They kind of had the liberty more than Red Bull and Mercedes to use their time on the 2022 car. And I think they have used it wisely, and I think it is going to pay off this season. And yeah, so that's what I took away. Like the pecking order was mostly same. Maybe we could see McLaren go up a bit, or else I think it's most likely going to be Mercedes and Ferrari this year. But yeah, Red Bull wasn't far off. Like they barely lost anything, but still, for some reason, I have a gut feeling that it will be mostly between Ferrari and Mercedes this year.
Yeah, I agree with your point that Ferrari with 400 something laps and Mercedes with 393 laps. Even McLaren was closed with 367 laps, I think.
365, and Red Bull also 358. They were pretty close, but still, every lap matters,
Yeah, if you can say that it is going to be a nail-biting title war between these three teams.
Yeah, I think we could see 4 teams going. I don't think we will see 4 teams going necessarily into the title fight, but yeah, like on every race, on and off, we could see like these 4 teams that makes 8 cars fighting for top 3 places,
Yeah.
which will be pretty exciting. Why not?
It would be a great war in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, Constructors title, it will matter a lot. Although first, second, at this point, I don't know if finishing first in the Constructors is a better thing, because you start losing time on aero testing and all, which kind of becomes a bummer over the period of time. So yeah, that's one thing too.
Yeah, we saw that with the lower teams got much more time than the top teams, which is kinda bum to me. But we don't know. It's the rule. It's whatever it is.
Yeah, like they got more aero times, but I don't think anyone could, like the amount that they got, I don't think it will show us any effect as of now. But maybe a couple of years down the line, who knows. But now let's bring our focus back onto the testing. So day one was Ferrari dominant. The Ferrari guys, they set the best timings for the day. And then on day 2, I think it was... Okay, sorry, I made a mistake. Day 1, Ferrari looked powerful, but it was Lando Norris from McLaren who set the best times. And it kind of got everyone's expectations high. And then Ferrari on day 2, they set up the fastest lap, which was promising for them. And I think the second day was more of everyone just trying to figure out their programs. So we had a pretty jumbled order. And on day 3, if we look at the final day, it was a typical, you could say, grid that we expected. For 2 Mercedes, 2 Red Bull, 2 Ferrari. No changes right there.
Yeah, I agree with your points that you gave about the every day that you summarized. And that also shows that Williams were a surprise for me. And in terms of letdown, I didn't expect Haas to fail so much as they invested so much time in their 2022 car, but having so much technical issues, which we are going to talk about in the next segment, is a bummer too. Yeah, it's just a disappointing thing. All in all, I can say that Haas's week was totally a nightmare.
Yeah, a proper nightmare in terms of like everything. Like with what has been happening in Russia and Ukraine, it kind of affected like everyone in the F1 paddock. Overall, we could say the world has been affected, but specifically if we are talking about F1, if you all know, like Haas was kind of the primary sponsor of Haas was Uralkali, which happens to be a Russian company run by Dmitry Mazepin, who happens to be Nikita Mazepin's dad. And that's where everything went wrong. You know, like Nikita Mazepin is a Russian driver.
And he has a great connection with Putin. That's why it was a very big issue.
Yeah, that's a rumor floating around. I can't fact check that right now, but let's just focus on F1. Yeah. So Nikita Mazepin being a Russian driver, although FIA did allow Russian drivers to race under the FIA flag or neutral flag, Nikita did have that option, and I think he was more than interested in taking that option. But now, considering that many countries have these proper travel bans based on Russian citizens, and with Nikita Mazepin directly not being allowed to race in the Silverstone Grand Prix, so I think it was kind of for Haas to like decide what to do exactly. And since they decided to terminate their sponsorship with Uralkali, it really didn't make any sense, keeping Nikita in their team, because everyone knew he was a paid driver. His dad was paying for the team, and so he was in the team. And now, since there is no sponsorship money, there's no point keeping him. And although I say that there's no point keeping him, I kind of feel bad that he was taken out. Although, yeah, he did pay his way into the sport, but he was taken out of the sport for something he really didn't do. He really couldn't have done anything. So yeah, that's one thing I feel sad about him. But yeah,
at an individual point of view, even I consider that because of a world issue, one athlete lost its position. But the connection, whatever the rumor is going on, whatever it is kind of a thing that will affect FIA. So it is better he is removed. And also Mazepin wasn't a top driver. If he would have been a top driver and someone like a top driver is removed, it would have affected. But Mazepin was a paid driver. He wasn't even performing well, and he was very much considered as nothing kind of thing, which is a very bad statement. But yeah, he was considered nothing in the whole grid. Even Robert Kubica was above him in the last 2021 standings, which is a joke. So you can say that it is what it is. We can't do anything about it. And also it is a bummer for Haas that they lost so much of money because of the cutting ties with Uralkali. So we have to see that what will be the improvements in the next season for their sponsorship money.
I think they thought this through, and I think they have enough sources, or they managed enough sources before they actually went ahead and cut ties with Uralkali, but possible. That's a different story. Now coming back to the 2022 testing, like the drivers had a lot of opinions, and I think from the reports we know, and I think Ashish, you can better elaborate what the drivers had to say about the 2022 cars.
Yeah, as everything that we discussed were our brief views on the team's performances, but the whole scenario will be more clarified in the next official testing in Bahrain.
Yeah, definitely.
And which will also say that how much true our predictions are going to be. So our next segment will be the discussion on the drivers' views about their experiences in the car. As overall, the drivers have said that it has been a fun thing for them, fun drive, as it's a new car, new changes to adjust to, and also the fact that they have to, it's more like they have a new challenge to accept and to adjust. So it is well accepted by many of the drivers. They felt great on the track, but major issue that everyone pointed out was the weight issue, which we all know that has come in because of the heavy chassis, the 18-inch rims, and the new suspensions which are heavier. As the weight increased around 43 kilos from last time, and it's around 795 kilograms. So it's actually heavier, and which was a issue for them because they aren't used to it. And when the car gets heavy, as Sebastian Vettel mentioned, in the past days the cars were significantly lighter, but as getting used to a very heavy car will take a little bit of time, but they are experienced drivers.
Yeah, like upon this point regarding the weight, the lighter cars are like much agile, so they are probably easier to throw into a corner, so they will definitely feel the difference. But I think they are like 20 drivers, the best drivers in the world, top performing. I think it's just a matter of couple of laps before they are like, you know what, this is the new thing. We are absolutely used to this.
But there has been also positive feedback by Daniel Ricciardo that he mentioned the car was pretty balanced, even if there were so many changes and it has been heavy.
I think from the Honey Badger, this statement is kind of satisfying to a lot of fans, because last season he really struggled with the car.
Yeah.
So if this season he's kind of finding it balanced, it's a pretty good thing.
Yeah, if he comes back and competes really well and supporting Lando Norris, it's gonna be a really great thing to watch throughout all the races.
Yeah, with McLaren looking strong, I think we could definitely bet one win on him. True. At least. Okay, now about the next changes, the 18-inch wheels. There was a lot of buzz going around this thing initially.
Why don't you mention about it?
Okay, I'll go ahead then. I think mostly like everyone was really concerned about this 18-inch wheels blocking the views of the drivers, and I think that does change a lot of things. Like most of the drivers, they kind of did mention that they had to change a couple of reference points and all before they could actually get used to it, but over and all they did manage it well. And Pirelli, after all this testing, they have been pretty satisfied. Like from what the CEOs and all say, they have been pretty satisfied with how the new tires are working. And also regarding the tires, they overheat less. So they could kind of, instead of having a very smooth approach, they could probably throw around the car into the corners, and a bit of sliding shouldn't really be an issue for overheating, since they are overheating less right now. So that's another plus point. And anything else, Ashish, you have to add to maybe the tires or technical?
Yeah. In terms of the tires, actually, it was expected that the tires will underperform, or like the last time they may burst out because of the heating, because so many laps were covered by the drivers. But that wasn't the result, and I think there is a positive side to the Pirelli tires, the change that they made. I will come back to that weight thing, as all drivers praised the performance of their cars in the high-speed corners, which was mentioned by many drivers that is due to the weight of the car. Cars are now less agile, but the downforce is very much consistent throughout, so it gives a safe side to the drivers, as the lighter cars used to slip and the downforce changes usually very frequently. It wouldn't happen with the new tire.
Yeah, so it basically inspires a bit more confidence into the drivers while they take the high-speed corners.
And talking about how fast the cars are, as George Russell mentioned, that it was expected that the car will be around 4 seconds slower, as it was expected through the simulations and everything, but it didn't happen, and the car is really fast. But it doesn't match to the level of 2021 cars, but they are expecting that with further developments, it may get to the level of 2021 cars.
I think it will get. This is like the first iteration that we are seeing, and I think by the time we reach to the first race, I think they will easily take off 1 or 2 seconds, which is more than enough to kind of be on the pace of the 2021 cars.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad thing at all. But the main thing of the regulation changes was to make the following of cars and overtaking easier.
Yes.
So how has been the feedback regarding that from the drivers and the teams.
In terms of overtaking, the drivers have said that it is really easy to follow the cars. That means they are able to be around 1 or 2 cars distance between them, around 3 to 5 seconds of difference between the cars. But once they get close, and the usual thing that they want to do, that is to get a slipstream to immediate overtake once they get behind a car, that isn't happening. They get slowed down once they get really close to the car.
Yeah, I mean the like what we have seen from the like the CFD diagrams, as well as on the last day they put a lot of water, so the people that actually took the photographs managed to take some photographs where the vortices were kind of visible. So this time the vortices are going up, so the effectiveness of the slipstream is reduced. But you can follow a car pretty easily, but since the slipstream is reduced, it's kind of up to speculation. We'll see that on the first race, if that makes easier. But the goal that FIA had set to make it more competitive, or I would say more easier to follow a car, I think they have achieved that pretty well.
Yeah, because we have seen like last time Verstappen would just fly away with 13 seconds of difference and be like he has just vanished. It won't be like one team is dominating through. What's your opinion that DRS will help in that overtaking part, that slipstream is reduced? Is the DRS is going to be some kind of helpful in that?
Yeah, I think DRS will remain helpful as it helps in reducing drag. So I don't think there are like two sides to this. Like many people are like, maybe we won't be needing DRS at all. And some say that like DRS will be important if like the effect of slipstream is gone, because in the straight lines what helps most is the slipstream and the DRS, and on top of that you add a bit of ERS boost. I think all of that helps in overtaking, at least on the straight lines. So that's something we'll have to see as we head into the season and the races go on.
About that, even again, I am going to come back to that weight thing. Carlos Sainz actually mentioned something that there is very less understeer or massive oversteer that usually happens because of the weight, and the car is pretty much under controlled behavior. It's like the weight is kind of making the car very much reliable, but it also makes the car slower a bit.
Yeah, I think overall balance that has been established, and most of the downforce is coming through ground effect. So I don't know how exactly that will happen, but I think seeing positive feedback from the drivers is always a good thing as they are heading into a new season, and especially a proper new set of, actually a new era of Formula 1. So it's a good thing.
Since overtaking is much more difficult on the straights because of the reduced slipstream, and it's much more easier on the corners. So drivers now need to be closer to the car. That is actually a possibility now, that they can be close to the car for a long time and overtake near the corners. That will be much more easier on the tighter tracks, especially in the Monaco specific, which are very much like a street circuits.
Yeah, the street circuits. But this is all like if or if not. Like if the slipstream is maybe weaker, then maybe this. But if the slipstream stays same, I think they'll just go for as they were overtaking before.
Yeah, it will totally vary depending upon the conditions and all. And that's the reason we are going to talk about the major issue, the major hot topic that was throughout the testing, that is porpoising.
Yeah, this was one thing I think which no one expected. Like this thing didn't come up in those CFT and wind tunnel runs, and finally when the teams got onto the track, this was like a blow to almost each and every team. The car started porpoising. So what exactly is porpoising?
Especially one team didn't face that, and we will talk about that. So porpoising occurs when the car gets sucked to the ground by powerful underfloor aero. The distance between the floor and the ground decreases with high speeds with reduced downforce, and this sudden increase lifts the car. So it usually happens once or twice. The main issue came, it started happening in a frequency, as the meme served us by the Ferrari car, the Leclerc phase.
Yeah, we'll try to put up a video if that's possible. But Ashish, this was really technical, full defined. We could basically say the cars were like continuously bouncing forward and backward, which looked really funny. I think that will be the best way to describe it to our listeners. The cars were basically bouncing from front to back. I think if we can post a video about it, that will be really helpful, or else we could just link it to the F1 site. So you should definitely look out for that. But one team that wasn't really pestered by this problem was McLaren. I think it had something to do with their overall design, ride height and all. That's why they weren't really bothered
I have
about
a point
it. Yeah,
about
and
that.
I think Ferrari was the one which bounced a lot front and back, and that became the video. But eventually the best drivers, they ended up fixing it.
Yeah, and not only Ferrari, even Mercedes faced a little bit, but the worst affected were Alfa Romeo and Haas, which led to the issues in their split pipes and leaks a lot.
Yeah. Alfa Romeo, I think Alfa Romeo, you could say, was affected because they ended up damaging their parts, and the parts had to be flown overnight into the testing. So that's a pretty messed up scene for them right there.
Where we were talking about McLaren's reason why they didn't face it. So I was looking over their front panel, the front part of the floor is a little bit higher. Due to which, when you mentioned in this podcast that the in the wet part the vortices are very high. So in one of the photos, McLaren had the highest amount of vortices, because of which there was a gap of air between the car when the porpoising happens in the McLaren car. But it doesn't.
Yeah, but the cushion kind of prevents it. The cushion of air that basically stops the car from getting severely affected by it. I got it.
And also that the teams would have to change their ride heights in different venues and in different circumstances throughout because of this issue.
Yeah, I think the engineers and all, they now, since they have seen this issue, I think they're already on it and have figured it out for most of the tracks. But we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we will see about that. So these were all the developments and issues highlighted by this unofficial testing. But the official one, the big one in the Bahrain, will give a full clarity to everything. So the hot topic for our next episode will be the official testing in Bahrain and all the developments that takes place.
So now the next thing, I think, in our podcast series, overall whatever has been going in 2022 series, is or will be the official pre-season testing, and that will happen in Bahrain. So I guess till then, stick around, listen to all our current episodes, this one and the previous ones, and meet you guys in the next one.